Hi, this is Bob again. I needed to return to do what I call an addendum to point 8. And the reason is because in one of my Bible prophecy classes, one of my friends asked me a question. He said, Where is, where are Enoch and Elijah right now? And I told him that I don't think they're in heaven because I don't think you could be in heaven in an earthly body, a corruptible body. To which he said to me, well, the scriptures say that they stand before the Lord. And I sort of doubled down and said, I don't think so, even though that's what the scripture said. And I went home that night, not too proud of my answer, and I needed to discover more about this subject. So I decided to do a little study and prayer and try to figure out a good answer to his question. And this is what I came up with. And the first thing was that I had to ask myself, if Enoch and Elijah are in their earthly bodies and they come back to earth as the two witnesses, are they going to be 2,500 years old? And the obvious answer is no. So if they are in heaven, then God has to do something to them, to their bodies, to retard, if you will, the aging process. Um, they can't continue to age in heaven, so they have to be in a special place where God has to do something special to them to allow them to be in heaven, to stand before Him. And I think what He is doing to them, to their bodies, I think is so special that I don't think we could understand it. Uh, I remember the scripture in Judges 13:19. This is one of the verses that I studied that night, was when the parents of Samson uh, were dealing with a Christophany, a Jesus in the Old Testament. And at one point they asked him, "What is your name?" And Jesus said to them, well, why do you want to know that? He never gave an answer in the Old Testament. But in this case, he said, why do you want to know that? And what followed was some situation where Jesus was in a fire and he ascended to heaven out of that fire. And the scripture says that he did wondrously. An interesting word, and in my opinion, it's probably the best word that God could come up with uh, to explain what had happened. And because I don't think there is an earthly word to describe what the parents of Samson saw. It was too out of this world, if you will. So God said that he did wondrously. Um, but that sort of explained what they saw and what was going on. And I believe it's the same thing with Enoch and Elijah in heaven. God can't explain to us what's going on with them because we wouldn't understand. Now, I also studied at night. I told you in one of my videos about the fact that when Elijah and Moses were on the Mount of Transfiguration, that there was no mention of what they were wearing. And the reason for that is because their bodies were so different. One was dead and one was alive. And God is not the author of confusion, so he wasn't going to give us a description of one dead body, Moses, and one living body, Elijah, uh, in that scene. He wasn't going to write anything so that it would cause confusion. But if you look at Revelation 11:4 and Zechariah 4, there are two descriptions of the two witnesses. They're called, what are they called? They're called the two olive trees and the two candlesticks. Now, why can God give a description of the two witnesses in those situations, but not give us a description of Moses and Elijah on the Mount of Transfiguration? As I've discussed, it's in the Mount of Transfiguration, there was too much of a difference in their appearance. But I believe that the two witnesses, that case, that description could be given because there wasn't an obvious difference. They were both in their bodies, their corruptible bodies. There wasn't one in a corruptible, one in an incorruptible. They were both the same. And because they were both the same, God was able to give a description to both of them. There wasn't any discrepancy. And I think that that was the best description that he could come up with that we could understand. The two candlesticks and the two olive trees. I think he wanted us to understand that they were similar, and he could give a description. And I think he wanted us to research the two olive trees and the two candlesticks and see what they mean. Sort of cryptic for us to study it and to learn more about this than what meets the eye. So I do believe, again, that they are standing before the Lord. I do believe that God is doing something to them. I do believe that we could never understand what God is doing to them, but he is doing something to their bodies. I sort of relate it to the scene in Alien when they were in those cool tanning beds and they were able to go hundreds of years into the future, and their bodies would not age. But that was the best that I could come up with. But so I do believe, like I said, that they were in heaven and God did something to them special. And when they come back, they'll probably be the same age as when they left Earth. And God could give a description to both Enoch and Elijah because there's no difference in their description. And God calls them the two candlesticks and the two olive trees. He wants us to study this further and to figure out what he means by the olive trees and the candlesticks. But Enoch and Elijah are the two witnesses because there's no difference in their description. They're both the same.